Hey guys, this is another video for our modern Japanese architecture playlist, and it's more about zoning than it is about architecture, so people that are interested in this sort of thing might find this a little bit interesting, other people might not. Let's see what happens. So obviously we've got a major road here with another major road built above it, so it's a really busy part of the world, and then it's got industrial buildings all around it. And then right in the middle of all the industrial buildings is this one new house. And this can be surprising to some people that come from other countries, because some countries the residential housing areas and the industrial areas and the main road areas are separated off. So the zoning says, okay, this area is for industrial, this area is for shopping, this area is for something else, and they're separated off. So here's a train station. And then you can see around it there's lots of commercial activity, shops and things. And then you'll see here an apartment building. And then next to the apartment building used to be a business, and the business was demolished and a new house was built. And there's a commercial car park in between us and that house. And there's the apartment building next to it, and then across the street there's a hotel. So some people in Europe and other countries like that might recognise this. It does actually happen in other old countries as well, where the zoning is mixed together like this. But there's a lot of people that come from countries where the zoning's all separated. Where they come to Japan, they're often surprised by this. So again, shopping area and train station and school, and right next to it is a new house. So the reason for this is quite often the land that these houses are built on is quite often been in the family for hundreds of years. So there might have been an old house there, and then somebody has demolished it, some family member has demolished it and built a new house. So there is that connection. I think in a lot of other countries, maybe somebody would come along, like for this old gentleman, and say, okay, look, he's got commercial land all around him, which would make the land he's house on worth quite a bit of money, and they'd offer him a lot of money to buy his house, and he'd go live somewhere else with a lot of money. But it doesn't sort of happen as much here, because the connection between the old house or the old piece of land and the family is stronger. So there's a very noisy restaurant and bar. We know for a fact that the house next door complains to the owner of that bar about the noise, but that's just what's happened. They've ended up living next to each other there, the old piece of land with the new house and the bar. Here's an apartment building, again surrounded by commercial buildings, and then right in amongst it you've got the old gentleman's house. And you'll see this in big cities too. You can go to the biggest cities in Japan and you'll often find big multi-story buildings. There's a pachinko across the street, and then next door to it a little old house with a little old man living in it. So it's still really common to have that because of the connection between the families and the land. And there's a lot of actually old houses like this one here that had the business underneath and the residents at the top that have been closed down but still kept because of the connection with the family. So nobody's living in them, but there's a connection with the family. These ones are obviously occupied, these ones on the corner. And these are another style again where you've actually got the business downstairs and the owners live upstairs. And that's come from old Japan style, where that was usually the case, that people had a business. Now here's an old merchant's house. He was he had a shipping business, shipping merchant. So this is his house, but the very front room of the house had his little desk there like this where he could do business. So you'll see his soroban and his books there. So people would come to do business with him, and they'd come into the entrance of his house and they'd sit there in front of him on the tatami, and they'd drink tea and they'd do business in his house. So that is the traditional way of doing things. And again, not unique to Japan. People that live in older countries will recognise this as well. But it's interesting to see it's carried on here. So there's a lot of examples of this now where we see the old businesses with the residents at the top, but even newer ones too. So here's a clinic, medical clinic, and above it there's the residents at the top, where the dentist will live most likely. And there's another clinic, same thing, with the residents at the top. So really common. Barber shop, and again the barber lives upstairs. So a whole heap of reasons: the connection with the land, the family connection with the land, but also the value of the land. There's a surfboard shop. This is a new shop. The guy makes surfboards down the bottom floor there, and then he lives on the other 2 floors. So another aspect of this too is the zoning, as far as changing the zoning is concerned. So here's an example. Here's a Denny's and Denny's car park, and adjoining the Denny's car park is a rice field, and it's an old one, and it's actually tended by hand. The old couple that own it tend it by hand. Now the government actually prevent people rezoning, so in some countries that would be rezoned, somebody would build another restaurant next door with that big car park there. But in Japan, the government has stopped cultivated areas. Cultivated areas usually can't be rezoned because Japan's trying to protect its primary producers, so trying to protect the people who actually grow vegetables and rice and things. So here's another one right in the middle of a really busy area, but you can't put a house on there. The local council won't let you do it because it's zoned for what you see. It's zoned for growing fruit and vegetables, and that's it. You're not allowed to build a house on it. So it's interesting. You'll see that next to a big building too. In the middle of a city, you'll have a huge big building, and right next door, a little man down there growing his pumpkins or something. So some people find it interesting. Anyway, hope you found that interesting. More videos coming soon.